It seemed to start as a simple cold. Then authorities thought perhaps it was a standard flu. It wasn't long before it was clear that the world was dealing with something much, much worse. Countries tried denying entry, mandating shutdowns, and limiting travel. But it continued to spread. It spread to every corner of the globe, and it started mutating. Governments tried everything they could as thousands upon thousands were dying. Civil unrest began to spread. Now, almost 2 years into the pandemic, as the bodies are piling up, the worst has happened.
Hello and welcome back to another 31 Days of Horror 2021 video. Hey, you've been following along, you're doing the thing. Do you know what the 31 Days of Horror are all about? For me, for everybody they're a little bit different, but for me, it's essentially a matter of trying to watch 31 horror films during the month of October that I've never seen before, or that I don't remember having seen before. If I watch a movie and during watching the film I go, nope, I've seen this one, I know I've seen this one, it doesn't count. If there are films where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this one, but I don't remember it, it does count. I know it's a little weird, and that may seem a little bit off, but I put that rule into effect a long time ago because it was hard for me to find horror films I had not seen before. Now, things have changed over the years. There's been a lot of new horror films released, both as, studio films and larger budget, as well as, direct-to-video type stuff and low-budget, micro-budget stuff. And there's plenty of that for me to be able to do 31 films I've never seen every year. I mean, there's probably 31 at least a year put out, if not more, that I haven't seen. So I could go on and on and on for the rest of my life doing this just by, holding back on those films and not seeing them. Other films, there are a lot of direct-to-video and a lot of, micro-budget, low-budget stuff I haven't seen. I have seen a lot of it, but I haven't seen all of it. I did manage to see a lot of stuff that came out on VHS growing up, but there was a lot of stuff that just didn't make it up here, to our rental stores. So I didn't have the chance to see them. And then, of course, you have stuff on streaming that are streaming originals. Lots of streaming original stuff coming out. I mean, I wouldn't say there's enough every year to do an entire 31 movies, but there's enough coming out. And if I didn't watch any of the streaming horror films originals, then I could probably put together eventually an entire 31 Days of Horror just to streaming, but we usually include some streaming of some sort every year. I don't know if we'll do any this year. I don't know. Maybe we'll. But then there's also the foreign films. Now, I have seen some foreign films, and when DVD came out, a lot more of those foreign films got picked up and released, so I have seen a lot through that. But there's still plenty, and I mean plenty, of films from other countries that I haven't seen. So, the 31 Days of Horror need that rule anymore, but I still kept it because, hey, that's the way you start something, you gotta finish it, right? Well, I know, you're like, stop blabbing, get on to the movie for today. Today is all about episode 50. Yes, episode 50 here. Watch the DVD. Now, this is a, as you can kind of tell from the thing, it is a ghost story of some sort. So that's why it was picked. And of course, you can also see that Leslie isn't here again. Yeah. Because she's into ghost movies. This is why, I try and pick some ghost haunting, paranormal type stuff. Because that's kind of the usual stuff. And because of the subject matter here, I thought she'd be into it. But for some reason, I don't know. She just wasn't. So, I don't know what her ratings are. And I'm pretty sure she wouldn't give it a recommend. So I'll say that she doesn't recommend it, but I don't know what her rating is. But we'll get into the reasons why. What is the film about? Well, the film is episode 50, and the episode 50 refers to what this is, kind of a found footage tape, a found footage of, or in this case, unaired footage. It's the episode 50, which never made it to air, for a ghost hunting television series, like Ghost Hunters and such. And they had done 49 episodes, and this was going to be their big 50th episode, but it never got aired. And the whole idea here is that there's a rich guy has hired them on to investigate a particular place, and determine he's essentially dying, and he wants to know, is there a heaven and hell type thing, because he's been really, really, not a very good person. He's very rich, and so he's thinking, if there's a heaven and hell, I'm going to hell, and I'm not looking forward to it. If not, then hey, whatever, I don't have anything to worry about. I die, I lived life to the the best, right? So he's paid for this team, which their essential thing is they are going at it in the sense that they investigate the paranormal. They're trying to debunk things more than say ghosts exist or something like that. It's not to say that they say that ghosts don't exist. It's just that they will try to explain whatever's happening, or the reasons for whatever's happening, and when they don't, they just come to the conclusion that we just don't understand why it's happening yet, right? So hires this team to go to this location that is the most haunted in America, and it's been closed down, and nobody's been in it in a long time, since a bunch of homeless people were found dead inside. And when they get there, they find, hey, he's hired another team as well. Now, this other team is kind of like a rival team. They don't have quite the budget. I think they do their stuff maybe online only. But their aspect is more along the lines of religious. They are coming to the whole idea of, ghosts exist. They are, essentially the spirits of the dead who haven't passed on type thing. So they're going to try and, through God and Jesus and all that kind of stuff, essentially essentially they'll communicate with the spirits or the ghosts, and either help them move on or whatever, right? So that they come from a sort of a religious background. Now, their concept going into this is more that there's probably something holding these spirits to this place, which is why it's so haunted and why bad things happen there. And they think it's a demon. So a demon from hell is holding all of these spirits of all the people who have died at this hospital type place, insane asylum, whatever you want to call it. There, and that's why it's so haunted. So essentially, episode 50, is from the original guys, their television series, and they've agreed, okay, we're going to do this together. You shoot your stuff, we'll shoot our stuff, and as long as we stay out of each other's way, everything should be good. And the film's essentially about what they find. I won't give you any more than that. It is what it is. The film is written and directed by Joe and Tess Smalley, who have not directed or written anything really previously or even after the fact, for the most part, which is what it is. It's kind of apparent. It's also written by somebody named Ian Holt, who also wrote the film Dr. Chopper, which is a horror film, and he also wrote some best-selling Dracula book of some sort. The cast has Josh Folan as Jack, and he's sort of like the main guy of the TV series shooting its episode 50. He was in Death on Demand and the sci-fi film 2K3. His sort of like partner in the show is Chris Perry, as Damon, played by Chris Perry. And he's not done much of anything. I mean, even if you go to IMDb and check him out, he doesn't even have a picture. So I guess acting wasn't his thing. He was I don't know if this was his, I want to see if I want to be an actor type movie, or maybe he was just doing a favor for a friend. I don't know. We've got Dylan, the rival star of the religious paranormal investigators, played by Keithan Hergott, another person who's not done much of anything prior or after. And then finally, there are other people, but the final main person I want to mention is the character of Lisette, who's kind of like a medium. She can feel the spirits and talk to the spirits and stuff like that, which I found weird that she was on the religious paranormal thing, because if they're most Christian paranormal investigators and stuff like that tend to not believe in mediums and such like that, or psychic type things. There are some, but it seems to be more towards the, that's not real. The only people who can, speak with the dead and stuff like that are God and such. But there are, I think there may even be a show on television that has somebody, does bring in the mediums and stuff like that, and does bring in religious people as well. So, they do work hand in hand. So, while a little bit odd, it wasn't completely out of the question. And Lisette is played by Eleanor Wilson. And wouldn't you believe it? She didn't have any credits really before, and afterwards, all her credits seem to be like short films. So she hasn't done much of anything. And again, there are other people who are in the movie who do parts and bit parts and stuff that just, they weren't main characters, so I wasn't really going to go into it. And considering I was looking at the main characters and they hadn't done anything, I looked through names and I didn't recognize anybody. So, there could have been somebody who eventually later on went on to do a bunch of horror films that we really liked. Whatever. I wasn't going to go through everybody's name. Partly because there are other people on the teams. And there are these segments in episode 50 where, they're talking to experts off, not at the actual location, but off location where, you know, they're getting their thoughts and stuff about, you know, paranormal things and such. You know, like experts, be it psychologists or doctors or scientists or whatever, right? Like just interview questions with them that they throw in here and there to make it seem like a television series. The film, I would have to go back through it and watch it again, because now it is supposed to be, you know, like a found footage type deal, Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity, etc., etc. But I'm not sure if they kept it all in camera. And by that I mean, you know, the found footage. Because, I mean, they did a good job. Again, like I said, there's interview footage. There is footage from, you know, a person following them around and such. But I'm not sure if once the things started, you know, climaxing, that they managed to keep that going. I don't know, because, well, maybe they did. I don't know. I would have to go through it shot by shot and say how would this have been worked into from a, you know, the point of view that there's a camera guy, because there are limited amount of people involved, and a lot of this is, you know, especially once you get to the climax of the film, it's on the move, right? So it's not static where you're in one room and, you know, you're talking and stuff like that, where, okay, yeah, there's one person there, but because there's two teams, and one team, the religious lower budget team, is told by the higher budget, don't worry, we'll film everything and give you the footage. I don't know if there was enough bodies to manage to do everything that was in the film. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, it comes off as, you know, generally like you're watching an episode of those ghost hunting television shows, and I mean in that regard, it works. I mean, I'm surprised. There must be a lot of films that are like this, that are, you know, found footage, doing that whole ghost hunting television series or wannabe television series or whatever, you know, like whether they are established, not established, you know, wannabe established, online, whatever, you know, like making ghost hunting TikToks or, you know, like whatever is the case. There must be plenty of films that are like that. It is such an I mean, the found footage are one of the reasons why it became so popular, is it is so easy to do, right? You're essentially just filming with the camera, and whatever happens, do a little post-production, special effect work to make it seem like, you know, something's going on, and Bob's your uncle. And they do a lot of that post-production stuff in this movie, where the ghosts are essentially edited in post and made, you know, whatever, they're off in the background or whatever type stuff. And I wish it was scarier. I think that's one of my biggest beefs with this film, is you can have bad acting, you can have bad directing, you can have bad writing, but you can still pull off some good scares if you know what you're doing. Unfortunately, these guys, they just didn't do it. I mean, there's a lot going on in the film. There's a lot there to pull from. And it is what it is. It's an enjoyable watch for what it is. Maybe it's the music, maybe it's the way it's shot. But yeah, it just didn't. There's no real tension, right? There's nothing pulling at that fear factor, really. The jump scares are seen from a mile away, and when they do happen, it's not even really good. So, yeah, in terms of the, what this, being maybe that's why Leslie wasn't really into it. Being a ghost story, that's really what, you need. Outside of the ghost films generally have this backstory you have to learn through watching the film. Outside of that, you really want to be scared from a ghost story, right? You want ghosts to scare you. And this film doesn't really manage to do that. Again, acting-wise, they're able to deliver lines, the scenes play out, everything it plays out, and you can understand it, everybody does it, but you can tell they aren't... You can tell everybody in the film isn't really... I mean, they want to be actors, but they're not really there yet, right? Like, they're not seasoned actors. They're not people who have honed their skill well enough, because it does come off as a little bit amateurish in terms of the acting. The directing, again, it's pretty straightforward, and because the directing and the writing obviously are all involved in the same thing. Concept here is fine. I don't have a problem with the concept that they tried to pull off. It's not. I think it could have been better, right? Like, considering what was there and the subject matter, could have done a much better job of delivering. It just didn't deliver, and I don't think it's because of budget. It wasn't a matter of budget. The locations were good. The actors, in terms of looks, were good. Obviously, skills or whatever, you got to work with what you're given. Special effects, budget dictates that, and you got to work with whatever you have there. But knowing your limitations, they could have done probably a better job with the way they essentially the way they shot the scenes, how the scenes were delivered, all that kind of stuff, and the story in general. It has this sort of sub-story that you don't really learn too much about until it starts coming about 3/4 of the way through the film. And I don't think the sub-story was really necessary. I don't even think they needed the two groups. Could have gone with just one group and had more people in that group and worked with that. Just along the same lines where a lot of the ghost hunting shows have groups of people, and they split up into groups of pairs and singles, and everybody's doing their own little investigations, and they could have done that. I think they could have pulled that off, pulled this story off doing that. Some kind of weird fly, little teeny thing too, and they could have used that to pull off the film a lot better. But I mean, I guess their whole idea was that's too easy, and the TV series already do that. We don't want to copy them, so let's add this secondary group in and do something with that. Maybe that's the reason behind it. I don't know. But yeah, it's it's one of those films that they're, like I said, good idea. Execution isn't all there, despite the fact that they had a lot of things going for them. And I don't know. I think it's just a matter of lack of experience all around. And so you ended up with something that was not as good as it could have been. That being said, it's still somewhat enjoyable. The story is there. It plays out. There is the ghosts are okay for what they did within their budget. But would I give it a recommend? It's not something I would recommend. I don't think you would necessarily. I mean, there's worse stuff. So if you're looking for a ghost film and you love those ghost hunting shows, you could give it a shot. You could do worse. But don't expect anything fantastic. And I think that's one of the reasons why Leslie was disappointed, and I was actually quite disappointed because I thought, hey, look at the cover. That's a pretty cool cover. And I don't know, it just seemed like the whole idea and concept should have produced something that was better. That being said, it is adequate, so it's kind of given a 50-50 split here. I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5 as a rating, but it doesn't quite get that, doesn't quite have enough to hit the recommend thing. It's not funny, it's not scary, it's only semi-enjoyable, but at least it's not just gobbledygook garbage that's, and so super low budget that there's, they couldn't even pull off what they were trying to do. No, they pulled off what they were trying to do. I just don't think they did it as well as it needed to be, if that means anything. Anyways, that's enough for this one. See, I'm already starting to lose my voice. More 31 Days of Horror to come. Keep watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.